on mute.
You're 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 on mute.
Why do you look so confused? Open those system preferences. Click on that sound button because you're on mute. Welcome to a brand new episode of You're on Mute, the one and only podcast created by the Farmboy marketing team. With over 20 years in business, Farmboy has evolved into a multidisciplinary creative marketing agency capable of providing top-notch wham. We deliver on web, art, and marketing. And now, since everyone has been asking for it, we are delivering on a brand new cutting-edge podcast. So without further ado, you're on mute. Welcome to our first foray into making a podcast. I am Patrick. I am a digital marketing director here at Farmboy. We have Maggie, who is also a digital marketing director, PPC expert, joining us. We have Renee, our social media specialist. We have Kara, our project manager. We have Tyler, our SEO guru, as well as other things. And we have our brand new, I don't like to call her an intern, so I'm going to say copywriting queen, Vanessa, joining with us. So welcome to You're on Mute. Maggie, this was kind of your idea, so you want to give us a little bit of background on why we are spending some of our workday creating a podcast.
Well, thanks for blaming me for that. So, podcasting has really taken off since COVID. And after sitting on several Zoom meetings with my lovely coworkers, am I reflecting?
Yep.
Okay.
You're always reflecting sunshine.
And
that is false.
Yeah, we know.
That is false. Thanks for the boost of confidence. That is false.
You're like the moon. You're like the moon. You don't glow, you reflect. I like it.
I reflect other people's vibes. So if they give me bad vibes, that's their own problem.
Right. It's their fault.
So anywho, this is exactly why we have a podcast, because all of us are fantastic and super smart and hilarious, and we need to share that with the world. So here we are, and we're going to probably stumble through this, but it's going to be fun. There are going to be some hot takes, and enjoy the ride, man. Okay.
On the road. Enjoy.
So we're kind of, enjoy it. Because he's clearly on Abbey Road in, the 60s. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, Patrick has a very realistic image as his background, while the rest of us are just in rooms that are gray, except Kara, she has a bright orange room.
Well, and the reason I wanted to cover up my background, because yesterday we had a high school kid in here job shadowing me, and this office is not only my office, but it is
great job, Vanessa.
The Farmboy storage room. This is why we don't call Vanessa the intern.
We should put her on.
Patrick, I think you need to show your office. I think it'll contribute to the vibe.
Yes.
Just show it.
Let's curate a vibe.
Be real.
Now, mind you, this was not, I got moved into this office. I used to have Kara's office when I started at Farmboy, she is like the only person besides Jason, our fearless leader, who has her own office in office.
What can I say?
It has a window.
Locker to put all of her stuff in.
Yes. No, I can't put anything in those lockers. If I put anything more than like my sweater in there, they will collapse on me. They are not attached to the wall. They are completely unsafe. They should not be in here, but they fit the vibe, so they're staying.
Purely decorative lockers.
This is my office. It has boxes. It has, products. There's no windows. My wife gave me this fan for circulation because sometimes it smells like
Raw sewage.
raw sewage from the
Oh,
so I felt real bad for this high school student who was job shadowing me yesterday. He's real into his I kind of asked him what his passion was, and his passion's making money. And so he took one of those tests that tells you what you should do when you get older, and it told him that he should be in marketing. So he was trying to kind of see kind of what we do for marketing and if there's money involved in it. And I felt real bad for him that he got to come into my office, and it just pretty much looks like a
It screams money is what it does.
yeah, it screams like a disappointed character on Storage Wars when they open up the garage.
oh my gosh.
Well, it sounded like he was saying he wanted to be an executive, which is kind of funny because it's like you first have to start working in this profession before you can just jump to executive.
Yeah, right.
You got to start by digging your keys out of the trash at Quick Trip.
Yeah.
Vanessa started her day by sending us a Slack message saying that she was not going to be on our morning meeting because she was at a gas station and somehow couldn't find her keys.
Well, I made it to the meeting, so
You did. She did make the meeting. That's true of reckless abandonment in kicking butt at your job. So
yeah, for
like
sure.
you made it home. None of us had to come rescue you. You must have other friends outside of work if somebody else came and got you. So well done.
He lives next door to me, so he has to be my friend.
Is that how that works? All right.
Yeah.
So let's give a little bit of background on who we are and what we do. Like I said, we kind of just had this idea Maggie had this idea to start this podcast. So I'll have her introduce herself quick, and we'll go around kind of like we would on a meeting with a client and tell a little bit about us. And so you know a little bit about who you're listening to here. So go for it, Maggie.
Okay, my name is Maggie. I have been in marketing for how old am I? Like 10 years, which is weird to say out loud. I came from the RV industry, so that's the recreational vehicle industry. I worked at Winnebago, like the namesake of RV manufacturers. In their marketing department with a bunch of different things from social to like overseeing the marketing for product lines. And then I moved to the largest Winnebago dealer in the country and was their marketing manager. And then COVID happened and I got pregnant with my second son. And we as a family decided that I was going to step back. And I did not work for a full year. And then back in
let's be real. You're pregnant and had another child. So you were
well, that's true. Yes. I was contributing to my children, their overall, development and whatnot, like half-ass cleaning my house.
You were human beings.
Yes, I was. Yes. And then I was about like mid-February, I came across a Facebook ad for Farmboy, and I said, and applied and started working with them very part-time. And then in the last 2 months or so have really kind of scaled up my work here. And now I'm here with these lovely people and I am really enjoying myself.
Well, that is a great bio. So, and we're happy you're coming up on your year soon. So we're stoked to have you. Tyler was also started around that time. Tyler, you want to give a little bio on yourself?
Sure. So I graduated from the University of Tampa and with a marketing degree because I got the Air Force to pay for it. So I found the most expensive private school I could find in the area. So that was fun. But before that, I was more doing entrepreneurial type stuff. So just starting these random projects and thinking I'm going to build these huge brands. But it was always just me because I didn't want to work with anyone else. So I could only grow it so big. So I started working more as a freelancer and doing pretty much anything digital marketing related. So I would start building websites. I would do social media posting. I would do graphics as good as I could. Then I started kind of getting bored of that because I couldn't make a lot of money, as a freelancer because I was just hopping around from one project to the next. So I figured, I would join an agency to where I could kind of do the same thing, but a little bit more structured. So I found this job at Farmboy, and it was more related to SEO, which is search engine optimization, which I had no experience before all this. So this was a new avenue for me, but I got the gist of what it was by building websites, doing brand strategy, that it was kind of easy to just jump in and learn it. So I like learning different things anyway. So now I'm here working on a lot of cool different projects, a lot of different clients. And now I don't have to do it for my own brands. I could just, do it for other people's brands and hopefully make them some money, help them grow, and then, work with other people that are like-minded, just like me. So I'm not doing it all by myself. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the freelance world is kind of a lonely world sometimes. So
It can be, yep.
I'm happy that you are here, and great thing about Tyler is he's always up for learning anything new. So that's something that he's he will be able to talk about on this podcast about tackling on new things, down the line, like in the marketing world, taking
Yep.
it on, because you can't know everything or anything like some of us. So
Let's
Renee.
not forget he makes a killer loom video.
Well, I kind of have to, because the clients are like, "What do you do? Like, what is SEO?" Like, then I have to explain like what I'm actually doing instead of just sending them this PDF where they're not going to read it for one. So
Tyler,
they might as well watch me try to explain it.
And you do such a good job at that.
yeah,
And they love it.
this
Yeah,
is
they
not,
do.
this is not Tyler's first time on screen. He is
Yeah.
he is the Al Pacino of loom videos. So
Mhm.
Renee, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and your background?
All right. So I am the social media specialist, and my background's kind of all over the place. My first real career was in the medical marijuana industry when I lived in Los Angeles, and I did that for like 5 years. And then I got married and had a baby and moved to Iowa. And my ex husband and I started a general practitioner law office. So I did everything under the sun.
Straight from weed to making the laws.
Yep.
Makes sense. Good transition.
I
So
like that pipeline.
oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So he was the attorney, I was the everything else. And then we ran a campaign. So he got elected to public office as the county prosecutor for Van Buren County. And concurrently with the practice, I became a certified victim services provider for the state of Iowa. And so I help victims of crime get restitution and write victim impact statements and that kind of thing. And then I went back to school, got my bachelor's degree from the University of Iowa. I got a degree in writing and creative expression. So a cushy liberal arts degree that could let me focus on writing and being creative, which has always been my forte. So then I got a boring job doing contract admin for big ag equipment, and that was not really my jam. And then I got in touch with my good friend Patrick, who I know from Yelp. And I found out that there was an opening for social media work, and I love social media. I think it's super fun. I love making people laugh. I love the variety. I love the community. And so it was kind of just a very easy transition for me to take, something that I do for fun anyway, and now do it for clients. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they hate it. There's a whole lot of in between, but there's a lot of room for just having creative input, getting good feedback, and helping clients grow. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. When the social media specialist job opened up, I thought to myself, who would be the perfect person for that? And not too many times you get to build the team that you want to build. So it was awesome that you came on and made a difference right away, and you're killing it. So the next in line, as far as seniority at least, is Kara. Kara, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and why you're here?
And use your news voice.
I have to use my news anchor voice. Okay, to
Yes.
preface that, in college, I was a news anchor for the college newsroom for like 3 years, which don't look that up on YouTube because it is heavily embarrassing.
Wait, can we
But
splice that with a clip?
Oh yeah.
Yes, let's
absolutely.
do
Yeah,
that.
let's
Oh,
add a
yes.
clip here.
Yes, it's
Oh my
so
gosh.
good.
Oh gosh. Yeah, so after I graduated from that college with a public relations degree, I found out I didn't want to do public relations like that last semester. So, that's great timing. So I've had 4 careers in the last 3 years. Started out as an insurance agent at, I don't know if I want to say the insurance company, but I was there for 3 months. And after 3 months of cold calling, I was like, this is awful. I'm going to say no to that one. After that, I was unemployed for 4 months because it was COVID and no one was hiring. So, 2020 was a great year for everyone. And after that, I became a sales associate at a furniture store called Home Furniture. It was huge. It was fun for a while, but I didn't have weekends. So then I moved down from Minneapolis to Des Moines, which love it here. And then I was what was my title? Client relationship specialist, which is basically a really fancy way of saying customer service for Charles Schwab. Even though I did do some project-based stuff there, it was a lot of having people come in, wanting to discuss their accounts, usually not being happy with where the stock market is at, because there's always someone who's not happy with that. And about over a month and a half ago, I finally came here to Farmboy as the project manager. So now instead of having random people come in and ask me for things, we have dedicated clients that I talk to, which is way more fun, way more expected, way more my speed. But yeah, it's been great, and that's basically what I've done these past 3 years of having real careers out of college.
Yeah, well, it's cool that people have such diverse backgrounds, because I think that actually helps our clients and our interactions with our clients, because we can kind of have more empathy and put our shoes in maybe what they're doing in whatever business they're doing, because our clients have a huge spread of the spectrum of who we do marketing for.
Oh, absolutely.
Vanessa, let us know about you besides your morning at the Quick Trip.
Okay, well, I originally applied for Kara's job, actually, and Patrick said, you seem more creative than that, because no, not that you're not creative, but he said that and sent me a link to some internships, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to do an internship because I have an advertising degree from Iowa State. Not that that means something more because it's from Iowa State, but I was just
But it
telling you
does.
there. It does.
Someone with a fellow advertising degree from Iowa State, it does.
Sorry. But yeah, so I was like, no, I don't think I want to do this, but then I did, and I'm glad that I did. I thought that it would at least be worth the experience, and it has been. But besides that, before interning here or working here, I was just kind of freelancing, and I realized how hard that was when you don't really have past experience. And this is more fun anyway. I like having a little bit to go off of.
What kind of stuff were you doing with the freelancing? Were you doing with the writing, or what kind of stuff were you doing?
It was more design stuff, which I don't like to do as much.
Yeah.
Well,
Freelancing is hard. I mean,
Yeah.
in between like leaving the dealership and going here, I did some freelancing, and it's hard to get work. It's hard to explain your value. I mean, it's just it's hard, and it's a lot. It just makes more sense to go the agency route when you can just like really specialize versus having to be
Yep.
everything to everyone.
Yeah, I
And I,
did.
I like to, sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Well, I like to do a variety of things, and learn a variety of things, but the design stuff specifically, that's what I had the most experience in, but I also know that's one of the things that I like to do the least, so it just didn't really make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I had some freelance time in 2020 as well, and uh it's a wild experience because it feels like everything is high pressure
Mhm.
because you're on your own and you're doing lots of different things for people. And that's one thing about working with an agency like Farmboy. When a company comes to us to work, they get like 6 people thinking about their stuff instead of one person thinking about their thing, whatever their
Mm-hmm.
business. So uh, it's also probably wiser to hire an agency than a freelancer. Not trying to knock any freelancers out there, because if you can do it, if you can wear all those different hats, I salute you. But maybe just come work with us instead of freelancing,
Well,
and
it's
we'll.
usually businesses that are trying to cut corners anyway. They're
Yeah,
trying to have
exactly.
somebody who they can
Yeah.
pay, minimally instead of, yeah, just spend that towards an actual agency because it's not really that much more expensive.
Yeah,
No.
I was actually of just to give you a little bit of background on me. I've been kind of doing marketing stuff. I don't have any college degree. I went to college to play baseball, and the only thing I learned in college was that I was a all-state high school baseball player, and I was a third string college catcher. So that's the only thing I learned. But I loved marketing, and I've done some like PR for like music and film, and I love creating stuff. I like making music. I like making little movies, stuff like that. So uh, marketing just kind of like falls in line with creating art these days because you have to tell somebody about it. So that's kind of how I fell into it. And then I worked for Yelp for 7.5 years up until COVID. And I got a severance as I was leaving Yelp during 2020. And I did some freelancing in 2020. And I was actually hired by a company. And Tyler's exactly right that they were trying to cut corners. They're like, oh, we want to hire a marketing person. But then when I got there, they were like, they were advertising the amount of money they wanted to pay, and they tried to pay me $20,000 less. And then they made me like,
Mhm.
oh, why don't you get your own LLC so we can like not actually have you as an
Yeah.
employee and all this kind
Contract
of
you.
stuff. So it ended up being a real not that fun of experience of going from working for a really kind of cool corporate job where I got to like kind of build community for the community I lived in.
You were
And
good at that too. You made Yelp fun.
uh, hopefully it was a fun gig, but I enjoyed actually working for a big, operation like Yelp because we had money to spend. They weren't
Mhm.
afraid to try new things. They thought, a community like Des Moines, Iowa was important enough to like put a full-time person there and send people to shoot videos here and, support local businesses and stuff. And so I think that's the thing that we all have in common is we like to uh, help businesses grow. We're all kind of like, I feel like competitive people in our own regard. And that was the one thing I was talking to the kid I was job shadowing yesterday. He was asking me like, what do I really like about being in marketing? And it's like, I feel like you're on a team with the companies that you work with and you're trying to win, you know
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and maybe the little win is improving your e-commerce sales, or it's showing off your brand to a new group of people, or it's you know building a new website or something. You're trying to win little things, and I feel like that is uh where I get excited about marketing is trying to win those little goals and those big ones.
And I like to solve problems like that. I feel like there is nothing better in the world when you have been sitting there working on something and you're so frustrated by it. And once you have that like aha moment, oh my, it's like the best it's just like chasing the best high ever, because it's like when you get that and you get it figured out, it's just like yes. And that's what really gets me excited about marketing, is because it's just constantly, you don't want to be putting out fires all the time, but a lot of time it's just solving problems for
Mm-hmm.
your clients or for the agency itself. And it's when you have a good team that can help you win and help you solve these problems, like it makes everything go so much better.
What was one of those aha moments where you were like, yes, in your marketing career?
I've had so many, like the most recent one was dealing with figuring out the automations in probably in the Go High Level one, because that one was a lot less user friendly than Active Campaign.
For our people who
Um,
don't know what Active Campaign and Go High
yeah,
Level.
so Active Campaign and Go High Level are both white label platforms that you're able to create different marketing campaigns on, specifically digital. We were using them for one of our clients to create a lead funnel. And I had done lead funnels before, but I had not used those platforms. So one of the first one that we really did was for one of our clients who is who has two different home building companies. And we
Custom
wanted
building companies.
custom home building companies, yes, excuse me. And we wanted to do like a quiz to where people could go, they could fill out the quiz, and then get a lead form and send it to the client so they can run it through their sales process. And I think I worked on that first one for like 15 hours, because just trying to figure it out, and like I redid it like 3 times. But once I finally like got the whole, like everything flowing smoothly and working the way it was supposed to, it was just one of those moments where I was just like totally jacked, because I had taught myself, it was basically PhD by YouTube, and just searching the internet for how I'm supposed to do this. And once like that feeling of getting it right is just, it's everything.
Yeah.
I was so impressed looking at what that final product looks like just for the Farmboy one that you set up. It's like, when you set these automations up, it's like this, it ends up looking like a big web, and just knowing what each function is and where it sends something off to. I mean, that's complex stuff.
Well, and Maggie, kind of explain. So, people when they're searching, let's say when they're going to buy a new home or they want to build a home and they don't know what to do, like kind of explain what you set up and then what happens after the fact. Because I do truly think like Renee is right in the sense that like we set something up where somebody's going to search something and we're going to ask them questions to get them involved in the process. And then we're going to know more about that customer after they answer those questions. So when the sales team of that custom home builders reaches out to that person, they're going to know exactly what this person wants, what their budget is, where they want to build, explain that kind of process and how you set that up.
Yeah. So the thought was, let's try to get most of the qualifying process, like the sales lead qualifying process, online, so that we can show the client, like, here is a real lead with a real name, a real contact information, and we're going to figure out what are your big 5 questions that you're trying to figure out on that first call with the customer. You're trying to figure out, like, they want a budget, they want to ground them in the budget. So figuring out kind of what their budget is without asking, like, what is your budget? So we, asked about like where they want to live. We were working with a Des Moines area builder, so the different suburbs of that area. And then we looked at floor plan, because floor plans how they would qualify pricing. And then, how many bathrooms, how many bedrooms, like, do you have a specific aesthetic you're looking for? So then we were able to funnel PPC, pay-per-click ads, to this landing page for people to fill out the form. And then we built the automation to where once that person fills it out, the lead goes directly to the salesperson, the head of the salesperson, who's also the co-owner of this company. And she can then, send that lead to one of her salespeople. And, if we have one converted lead off of that, that automation and that work that we did, it more than covers it. And we've already had some. So it's really exciting to like go and build that and have it work, and then have, someone actually convert and like buy. It was really cool to see that, that whole funnel, because before in my life, I like, especially when I was at Winnebago, it was very like, you did this one section of it because it was such a big company, you couldn't see the whole process.
Mhm.
So being able to see that process from, beginning to end is really cool. Um, and it also says a lot about our clients because they're willing to be transparent with us. So we can work as partners rather than, like, you do this, where we can like, okay, let's like, we are here to help you, and we can only help you with how transparent you are with us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I really think the coolest thing about what you created for that specific client is you've set up their salespeople who you have never met. You don't know any of their salespeople. You have set them up for success because they know way more about their potential customer than they would have if that person was just filling out a landing form or clicking on a call and saying like, hey, I'm interested in buying a house. So if somebody called you and said, hey, I'm interested in buying a house, I got 10 different questions I need to ask them before I know what to sell them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are having those questions answered right away in a fun way, just by being like, people are always on their phone and they're like, oh, the,
Which golden girl are you? People
yeah,
love
which golden
quizzes.
girl are you? Who's your
BuzzFeed quiz style.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
What golden girl are you? And you're like answering these questions, and I'm like, oh, I want to be B. Arthur or whatever. So you kind of set that up in a fun way for a customer, and so that salesperson knows all of that
Mhm.
information going in. So it's their job becomes so much easier, and you've set up a pipeline where that customer. That potential customer can get hit up with a drip email. They can be
Mhm.
added to a CRM. You can put them in a section of like, okay, these are people in our funnel. Maybe they're not ready to buy yet, but when summer comes around, we can hit them back up again with more information, see if they're still interested in that type of home. It's a really, really cool thing that took, some time on your side of things, but it's really setting our customer up, our client up for so much success. And like you're saying, it's
Mhm.
kind of already paid for itself. And this is a client who builds 500,000 to multi-million dollar homes. So if one person who's just looking to build a home is flipping through Facebook and sees that and fills out the thing and it turns into a sale like that, my gosh, what your 15 hours of work just turned into, multiple people's salaries and somebody
Mhm.
finding the actual home that they want to live in, so really cool work. And that's the kind of
Mhm.
work that, we like to do all sorts of different clients. And now you're going to be able to take that, since you have done it, and put it to use for several other clients and expand on what you've done already for that one. So
Yep.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm really looking forward to, because I've always like, I feel like there's a lot of companies that they are very siloed with marketing and sales. Like the salespeople are like, oh, they're just the marketing people. They're, whatever. But like those functions really need to be intertwined, because it like salespeople need to know what marketing is saying, and marketing needs to know if what they're
Yep.
doing is converting. Like they need to be the best of friends. And sometimes it's hard explaining that, because people, I mean, they want it to be siloed because they don't see it as interconnected as it should.
yeah. And how many different times have any of you guys ever heard like you're working with a customer or a client and they're like, oh yeah, well, if our marketing team would, kick up this, then I would do more sales. Or the marketing team's like, well, the salespeople, they got to convert, like we get all these people to our website, nobody's making, so it's, when those type of things are happening, well, first of all, you probably should figure out how to play well with others on your team, but, and how to like, join forces to, win together instead of trying to
Mhm.
compete for your job. But like this is the type of thing that we have to deal with our clients too, because they're like expecting us to kind of be experts in a field that maybe they don't know, but maybe some of our clients think that they know or they have some experience in. So again, I'm always under the um I used to produce a lot of records for bands, and I loved that gig because I was kind of on the outside of things looking in, but I was trying to help a group of people come together to create a goal, or to finish something or to make something. And my, mentality was always every idea is a good idea until proven guilty. And I think with marketing, that is kind of, one thing that has kind of filtered into my role here is, like if your client is up for trying different ideas, you're much more apt to make something impactful happen. Like if that client would have been like, no, I don't think that's a good idea, Maggie. We just want to keep a landing form or try to get people to call us because we know we can kind of maybe convert 10% of them. If they did,
Mhm.
if they weren't up for you kind of working on that and making it happen, of then they would, they're kind of like of putting their own brakes on or, getting in their own way. So I think that that's something we deal with all the time of with, people possibly getting in their own way. I'm sure Renee has something she could say about that.
Or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately with social media, everything about it is so fleeting. And, a lot of times people really have no idea what's going to catch on and be the next, viral thing or the next trend. And so you kind of have to be willing to just throw everything in the kitchen sink up and see what sticks. And there's some risk in that. You might look silly, you might fall flat. And that's kind of part of the game that you have to be willing to do that to see what might work.
And it's I think sometimes it's, and you're saying social media is fleeting and you love social media, so
Yeah.
like is there what do you think for that person or that company or that brand who's maybe not willing to try things? Do you feel like it's more important to uh if you do kind of fall flat on your face or make fun of yourself, do you think that that's, as long as you're being authentic, that is okay in the social media
Oh,
world?
absolutely. Especially with, we're oversaturated with content creators and influencers and everyone trying to be this certain thing to go viral and to have, a bigger audience. But what ends up happening is everyone starts to look the same. And there's like this very homogenous, you know, artificial vibe going on that gets lost in the shuffle and it becomes part of the static and it's background noise. And so you have to do something different, even if that's looking really silly.
Yeah, and I think like I'm well versed on the history of music, and I've read a bunch of books on just like the history of music. And one thing about popular music, uh everything that becomes super popular, whether it's Nirvana 1991, boy bands late 90s, of British invasion bands in the 60s, of one of them, there's one that's like amazing and it's the start of something, and then there's a bunch of people trying to do the exact same thing,
Mm.
and the record labels or whatever being like, oh no, we need 10 more Nirvanas because we know that
Mhm.
that's going to work right now. And that's kind of
Yeah.
where social media is at right now.
Mhm.
For
Yeah,
instance,
and for every person that, finds it big in this one little, niche, it's, there are just as many people who are way ahead of their time and never really got the recognition or the fame for doing
exactly.
something 10 years prior, you
And
know?
that, and I think that maybe that's the stuff that's gonna, like right now, this week, the big craze on social media is the AI generated selfie,
Yep.
right? So I'm sure everybody's seen it. A couple days ago, my wife, who is addicted to social media, or at least Instagram, she just looks at art all the time. She was complaining the other day that she had to get rid of following one of my Instagram accounts so she could, because she had ran out of who she could follow. And so I felt a little bad that she was ditching me for some random artist that she doesn't know. But anyway, but she had not seen the AI trend thing yet. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like every person and their dog is doing this AI thing. And like now the big backlash about it is like, oh, it's taking away work from actual artists, whatever. So for a week, the AI selfie thing is going to be huge, and everybody's going to download the app, and they're going to get a free app for a week, and then that app's going to start charging you $4, and then they're going to be like, I don't want this app anymore. Like I looked real good in these AI selfies, but nobody's going to care in a week. And like it took this trend about 5 days for people to start like backlashing on it, right?
It
And
was
so,
almost instant. It was instant.
well, yeah. But you know what I mean? And I think that that's something that we need to always be aware of as a marketing agency, because we have those clients who are like, hey, I'm seeing this trend on Instagram where it talks about being born in the 70s and 80s. And so I want to post a video about, like 70s and 80s babies. And I'm going to look like, like, well, you know what, dude? Like, that's might not be what you're going to want to do, because that trend was actually done like this past summer. But, like if that's something you want, to promote your business wise. So I think like, it's trying new things and trying to not follow suit in everything else. Sometimes I think it's okay if it's authentic to your brand to do something that is trend worthy right now. But I think that's the thing that I come across all the time, being like, oh gosh, that trend was done 2 weeks ago, but I'm glad that this person's finally hopping up on it. So,
Well, and I think that's what
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's what makes you and Renee so good at what you do is you have that North Star, for the brand, and you can evaluate those like trendy, or I would consider them, I mean, they're like gimmicky. Like they're not gonna move the needle. Like they're gonna be cool for 2 seconds and then the next thing. And like you can't build a community, you can't build a brand around chasing trends. And you guys are so good about saying, okay, this trend, yes, this will work. Like the Halloween costume thing that we did for one of our clients, that was they're a consumer CPG or whatever, consumer product good, whatever. The spirit Halloween costume thing, that was so cool, so with the brand, but it was still relevant to what was happening, in social. And, that's just, like I said, that's just one thing I think you and Renee are so good at, looking at these trends and saying, okay, will this work for us or will this not work for us?
yeah. And you gotta know, is it ridiculous enough, and is it cool enough to make fun of yourself about it? I think that the thing about, like, for instance, this AI trend is that it's kind of sad, because it's like trying to make people look different than they are, you know and it's hard to make fun of yourself when you're trying to uh look different than you are. I think that's the complete opposite of being authentic. And I think
Right.
that in marketing, you have to be authentic. If you're ever going to pull on somebody's heartstrings with an emotion, whether it's through an advertising or through your brand story, if there's anything that is inauthentic about it, you can usually smell that out right away, you know.
Okay.
And for the Halloween thing, I think that we could be goofy enough about it and have enough fun with it where it was still authentic for the brand. And so that one at least worked. So
Well, I'm more of a bigger fan of the actual technology. I get what you guys are saying about it being trendy. So you see a lot of people using it. What I find cool and interesting usually isn't the end result or the product of it. It's the technology that's behind it. So how it's kind of being used is you have these different prompts that are text based, and they can get really advanced with the types of prompts that you can put in it. But it's the technology behind it that this artificial intelligence can take all of these words, all of these prompts, and then usually with like a sample image, and then just recreate something, that an artist would have to, spend a lot of time and thinking about it. So I like the technology behind it more than, how all of these, social media influencers are using it, more to promote themselves because it's a cool, catchy picture. Like I
Mm-hmm.
get it, I get all that. I just think it's cool that they're at least exposing or sharing the idea of this type of artificial intelligence and the implications behind it. Just like you're saying, all of these different artists are getting pissed off, because it's basically taking work away from these more high advanced digital creators to where now artificial intelligence can create something just by text, just by you like explaining what you want the image to be. So
Mm-hmm.
I get the whole issue with it, and that's what I think is more interesting is the actual technology behind it and
Yeah,
how it's going to be used in the future.
I'm excited for the possibility as a music fan to be
Yeah.
able to type in of the Beatles, Pavement, Carole King, and of whatever. I'll just
Hmm.
say it, Taylor Swift, and to hit enter and to see what kind of music comes out of it. I think that's the future. Like
Yeah.
what the algorithms uh can probably build songs based around things that they already know. So I think that from a music point of view is super exciting. Of course, that takes the human element out of it. So
Plus,
uh
there will always be an interest for people who take that analog, like backwards engineering something where they take a really popular song and they say,
Hmm.
"Hey, everybody knows this, but did you know where it came from?" And so then they go through with like old vinyl and they pull out the individual samples that were looped and chopped up to create this really catchy new thing that everyone thinks is, innovative. And really,
yeah,
it's just recycling.
my wife can't stand when I'm like, I think I did it to you recently too, Renee, where there's a song playing, whatever, it's that one Madonna song, and she's like, oh, this song is so good, and I was like, well, that's like an ABBA, like the
You've
cool
been
part
doing that since I've known you,
from
which I
ABBA,
love.
yeah. And so like, yeah, I think Renee had one the other day where we were talking about that song of Bittersweet Symphony, and I was like, well, those strings that's from a Rolling Stone song, right? They didn't come up with that like great hook. So but so
You're
yeah,
just like my dad, Patrick. My dad is 68 years old. And anytime I would be
it's
like,
just
oh,
like
I'm like into this new band, dad, like listen to them. He'll be like, this sounds like so and so.
yeah.
And like there is nothing new, there's nothing innovative. And now I'm like turning into that as well. Like I
Yeah.
hear, like I was an OG like emo kid of the 2003 to 2009 era, like the peak. And now
The
like
peak.
pop punk and emo music is having like a resurgence. So I'm hearing these like and seeing these little TikToks of these little teeny boppers who are just like thinking that they invented, oh my God, have you ever heard of this super underground band called Fallout Boy? Or
My gosh.
My chemical, anything like that. You're like, yeah, man, you know what? You should have been there. Like, I remember sitting in my living room the first time I saw I'm Not Okay by My Chemical Romance and like feeling
Was
the
your hair
shift
like
of
this,
the
Maggie?
earth. Oh, I've got pictures, Renee. I will send you. Oh, it was like
You've
one
you've
of
crossed
these.
you've crossed the threshold then. You are officially
Old is what
yeah.
the word you're looking for is.
So Vanessa is the youngest on this crew. And the one thing that when she was applying for the job, I was like, oh, she seems creative. She should be on the marketing team. And she said that she was collecting vinyl. So at least now the stuff that it all comes around again, right? And I think in marketing, it's all going to come around again too. But so it's cool that somebody who's Vanessa's age is like getting into vinyl records and like doing something that was like, for a long time in like the 90s or whatever, when I was growing up, it was very unique for somebody who was in high school to go out and be buying vinyl records because nobody was making them and stuff. So, so what trends do you guys think that maybe from the early 2000s are the next thing that's going to come back around?
Well, I hope Jinkos and baggy. I hope those never come back because those were disgusting.
Whoop, Juggalo.
So I hope those
The
never come back.
low-rise jeans can also stay away. Low-rise jeans
It's
can never
coming
come
back
back.
already.
The whale
Ever?
tail.
It's
No,
coming back.
no
Oh,
whale
God.
tails. No, absolutely not. Why do you make yourself suffer? Go with the high-rise baggy jeans. Absolutely.
Like
I want to
if
be comfy.
Mom
if
jeans.
low rise mud jeans come back, like I will leave the earth. Like
Well,
I cannot
Refuse.
handle.
Well, and then there are some people who never like pull out of their thing, like I see like whatever, somebody from Motley Crue or something who still looks like they're in 1987, the way they're dressing, or even
Which
Britney.
I love.
Well, classic, yeah. But like even somebody like Britney Spears, on her most recent social media stuff, which is bizarre. Let's all
To
she's
say
got
the
those
least.
like she's got those like low riding
Whoa.
pants
Real
or whatever
low.
that were like super popular probably in whatever 2001 or 2. And she's like still like rocking that, and I'm like, oh God, she's like the new Nikki Sixx or Six or whatever, Motley Crue. Like they never get out of that phase that they're.
Well, here when you get
Arrested
famous,
Development of the 2000s.
yeah, I heard when you get famous, like you pause in like your growth. So a lot of like the kid actors and stuff, it's like they're stuck at that age, kind of like a Bieber type thing. If you become famous super young, then you just pause there and you don't actually grow up like normal adults.
Yeah. So what do you think is what trend right now are you super into, Vanessa, that maybe like had its heyday in the 90s, early 2000s or 70s or 80s?
I
Like
don't
you
know.
like vintage clothes, right?
I do like vintage clothes. But that's just something that I've always kind of been into. Like
But what counts as vintage? How vintage are we
Right.
talking?
it's actually 20 years. But I personally like stuff from like 40s to 70s are my favorites.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
So you're rocking the timeless vibe of clothing, at least.
I think it's fun. Yeah, I mean, I collect vinyl, and vintage clothes. I guess those are the only. I can't think of anything else that I don't think like 60s dresses are gonna come back. Maybe 60s, not 40s skirts though.
I follow this company on Instagram. They're called Miracle Eye. They are specializing in 60s kind of pop culture, furniture and dresses. So somebody is definitely trying to make it come back. There's always something that somebody kind of like digs that they're trying to make come back, I guess. What kind of got you into like vintage clothes and like collecting vinyl records? Is it, like your parents, or is it just something that like you felt that spoke to you in some way?
I both of them were just things that I had been into since. Well, vinyl is a more recent hobby of mine, but old clothes is something that I started getting into in high school. I just thought it was cool. Like I just appreciated the styles, I think.
I think, yeah, for me, it was always like, I grew up in a small town, and, like I had older brothers and sisters, and I was, I've never been the type of person to like, when I was a kid, like buy clothing. So it was like, I think I went from like, my whole existence up until I could like buy my own concert t-shirt, to like pretty much my mom dressing me in like pleated khaki pants and like really bad outfits. You know what I mean?
Stuff with room to grow.
Yeah. And she'd stick her hand down my pants like, oh, you got room in there? You know, like, and so I can remember like when I moved away and like you could go to a Goodwill and like buy whatever you wanted. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to buy this like leisure suit from the 70s because I can. It's like $4. And like, so then you kind of like try to figure out like what your fashion sense is or whatever. And I've always been drawn to the refashion of things because I never wanted to spend $70 on jeans or something.
That's how I got into it. Actually, in high school, I would see these like crazy looking dresses. I'm like, that's so cool for no reason. But I mean, when I was 17, I wasn't gonna buy it for no reason because I was never gonna be brave enough to wear that at school. But that's how I got into it, is I started kind of looking up just dresses from the different eras and dating them by myself. And yeah.
Which again can fold into a marketing thing, because now you could be like, if you were a head marketer or a head designer at Forever 21, you can be like, well, it seems like all the kids now are wearing these stuff that like looks like it was from the 80s or whatever. Well, how do we make something that looks like the 80s? And it's not that they want to look like it's from the 80s, it's that if they could buy it for $4. So knowing that, kind of going in for a marketing from a marketing point of view, I think is unique, because people want something that makes them feel unique and cool, but they don't want to spend a lot of money on it, you know? So I think like that's how we need to like help companies build brand or build community around themselves to for somebody to make it be like, oh, it's cool to like this company, you know, or whatever.
Mhm.
So how's everybody doing? We've been at this for almost an hour. Maybe we should.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we've just gone wild, which is awesome, because
Yeah.
not at all how we planned, which is fine.
It's more organic.
But we should ask people who are listening to this or are tuning in, since this is our first podcast, and we kind of we just kind of wanted to throw some spaghetti at the wall and see what stuck. And you know, we have kind of morning meetings every day with this crew, and we have great conversations about random things. So we thought, why not, you know, talk about marketing, talk about some of the stuff that we're working on, things that we're interested in, maybe things that people might be interested in. So if you're out there, and whether you're a business or whether you want to get into marketing or whether you just want to see us talk about Britney Spears' social media or something,
Or Jinkos.
or Jinkos, you know, or the latest episode of Shark Tank or something, you know, those are all things that I think would be fun to talk about. So
Maybe we can do like our like quick hot takes. So we've got like we've got Renee's gonna cover one of our clients that she's been doing some really cool work on. I've got like a quick little listicle for getting ideas for content. Tyler, if you want to do a quick Tyler's topic,
I got one
think
for sure.
that would be cool. I can, Renee, why don't you kick off and talk about, you know, highlight the client that you want to highlight?
Okay. I would like to highlight Waterfront Seafood Market and Restaurant. And I want to highlight them because we're talking about vintage things, and they've been around since the early 80s. And they are a West Des Moines and now an Ankeny market and restaurant where they import really, really fresh, awesome seafood from all around the world. And so you can get, you know, raw ingredients, fresh seafood, but then they also have a restaurant. And what's really cool about them is that they've already had, you know, a lot of success and a decent following. But Nick, one of the family member owners of this place, is really trying to elevate and revamp everything through remodels, through, you know, new social media approaches. And he's just a fun, nice guy who's really energetic. He doesn't have a particular agenda with social media. And so he kind of just says, do whatever you think. And it's working really well for them. We have a lot of creative freedom to just kind of take, the pictures that he sends and the info that he sends and, just put it up in the best way that we can. And they get a lot of engagement and people like them and their social media looks dope and they're just good people doing cool stuff. So
This
shout
is
out to Waterfront.
Yeah. This is my example of how Waterfront is letting us run their social media.
For those of you
Casting a
listening,
wide net.
Patrick is awkwardly trying to fish from Abbey Road.
But no, I mean, they're patient. They're like a fisherman. They're patient. They're up for trying different things. They know that this time they might catch a bass. This time they might catch a walleye. You never know what's going to stick. And they have that mentality of like, you know what, we're just going fishing and this is fun and this is cool. And like, let's throw a couple casts into the water and see what happens. Like at the end of the day, if we don't catch anything, it's still okay because we had a good time doing what we're doing and we're doing it with our family and our friends and it's awesome. So I really think that it's cool that you picked them to kind of feature because everything that they're doing is really cool. And they let us they had to shut down the restaurant for a while and they wanted to have like a block party event and they pretty much let Renee plan the whole thing and name it and everything. And so it's really fun when a client like lets us be a part of the team and we get to help them grow together in a real fun way. So
yeah, they're so easy to work for and they trust us and they know that trust is, it's like a driving force for us wanting to do a good job for them because, they hand it over and say, okay, do what you can. And so we put everything into it.
Yeah, we're in the boat together, which is fun.
Okay, I think we've all cumulatively had enough of Patrick's boat and fishing metaphors.
Man, what a worm. What a worm.
I know. You're getting skunked by me today. You're welcome.
All right. Throw him overboard. Go ahead. Next.
Walk the plank. Oh, God, I'm contributing to this.
I know, you're in now. Once you start.
Okay. I am.
All right, reel it in, Maggie. Reel it in.
Yes. Okay. So, I wanted to do just like 5 quick ideas if you're looking to make content for social or content for your site, just ways to get ideas. And I've used, I think, all of these in the past when coming up with content ideas, because sometimes I feel like it can be so overwhelming trying to come up with an idea for a blog post or a landing page or social or whatever. Because eventually your creative juices just kind of like, you can have a creative block and you just need like, okay, what I need some ideas. Where can I go? So the first thing is just reviewing your comments on social media and reviewing your comments on your competitors' social media. Like, what are people asking? What are people talking about? What are people liking? And try to develop content from that. The next thing you can use Quora. I think I'm saying that right. Or the one I like is Answer the Public. So Answer the Public is made by Neil Patel, who's a big like content marketer, talking head or whatever. But basically what you can do is you can put in your search term. So if you wanted to look up, like fish restaurants, I don't know, whatever the waterfront would align with, they give you this really pretty like wheel of all of the things that people are searching related to like seafood. So then you can see like, okay, we know that this topic is really heavily searched. Like, how can we turn this topic into a piece of content around seafood? Another one is forums or groups. So obviously like the Facebook groups around your industry or around what you're selling or even around your brand are really good. Same with LinkedIn, especially if you're a B2B. I also like love Reddit. I know that's like yes. So like I love Reddit. It's such an old school like social media platform, but there's so much there it's just a really cool place to be. So if you look on Reddit, you can find like what people are talking about around your brand or around your industry, and it will give you insight into stuff that you might not see or you might not hear from like your sales staff or whatever. Um
Also a good place to like, if you're struggling with something, you know, we recently had a client that uh, had kind of gotten themselves into a predicament and that I hadn't really dealt with before. And I am on a marketing kind of group on Reddit. And I said, hey, has anybody else had this issue come up? And next thing you know, you got 15 contemporaries, colleagues, like being like, well, this happened with this, or this happened with this, or like, maybe you should do this, you know, like people of, it's a nice place to kind of throw ideas off of other people. Or if you're struggling with something, somebody has probably uh, gone through it as well. And Reddit, most of the time, I think is a pretty safe space to uh, throw that without, you know, somebody bombarding you with "you're an idiot" talk.
Yeah, and I think as a marketing professional, you can use it in that case, and you can also use it as a brand. Like what a better way to know what your customers are talking about or the questions they're having or issues they're having than to just go on those like you didn't have to comment. Just go read, figure out what, you know, what are people
Listen,
struggling with? Like just listen. And so I mean there's so many brands that really struggle to like really listen to your consumers. Like your consumers should drive your marketing, not the other way around.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think another
Um,
thing that brands kind of have a difficulty with what you're saying there, sorry to
no,
interrupt you,
you're good.
is knowing who their customer is.
Hmm.
You know, like we deal with some clients who are B2B and B2C, and they get real focused. 95% of their focus is on one side of it, and they're not seeing who the other side is, you know. So
Hmm.
I think that is a struggle that business owners deal with all the time too, is knowing who their customer is and then how to listen to them.
Yeah, I mean, all of these things can definitely be used for just better understanding your customer too. It's just, you know, it all comes down to listening and developing solutions for these people. And a lot of the time, the solutions are just a video or a piece of content that someone can. I'm searching for this. Hey, look at this great video that Waterfront put out about how to clean a fish. You know, those things are, I just think that the more you can tap into your customer or your client's wants, needs, issues, the better you can do it. And the way that we as a, you know, we as buyers, we just go to the internet looking for you know, to solve the problem. Like you said, when you were having this issue, you just were like, oh, I'll just go on Reddit, you know, and
Mhm.
understanding where those communities are. So the last two things are hosting a Q&A session or an ask me anything for your customers. Then you can have that, you know, that conversation with your customers, and then you can just repurpose some of the frequently asked questions into really solid content. And then the last thing is, you know, we're coming up on the end of the year, review your content to see what performed well, what videos, landing pages, whatever. And is there a way that you can update it with newer content? Or can you go and take one piece of it and do like a really deep dive? I mean, you know, content marketing is not going away. So finding ways to leverage, you know, all these different platforms to create really good content that your customers are going to want to read is going to turn them into buying customers.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so my section, I'm gonna go over some stuff that's gonna be a little bit more use case scenarios for Web3 type ideas and products. And there's been so much negative talk these days with, you know, cryptocurrency, NFTs, because a lot of the drama around, you know, the drop in value over the last, you know, year to 2 years. Because I've been in this space for a while, just learning, because clearly I like to learn a bunch of random stuff. But The value of cryptocurrencies, I think that's been down. It's in the it's crashed basically. It's down like 90%. So I had 90% more value. So I had close to 80 to 100 grand, but now it's 90% less. So do the math. But there's a lot of negative talk around it, but I don't see it going anywhere. It's basically a new technology that it has a lot to do with decentralizing, products and communities. And there's a lot of cool ideas going around now, even though, the market has kind of crashed, but there's still a lot of brands actually using the ideas and the technology to kind of push this into a more positive direction. So I had a couple examples of, brands that are using NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, and creating more of a what they call a phygital product, which is a physical and a digital product mixed. To where you may have seen
Digital.
you may have seen like these NFTs that have been selling, which is basically just like an image of like a rock. Over the last couple of years, selling for like 100 grand, 200 grand, and the issue has always been if there's no actual value with it to go along with it, if it's just an image, is what people used to always complain about, that that's why the majority of the value of these NFTs have gone to zero, because there was nothing of value behind them. So a lot of brands these days are combining the two to where you actually can have an actual physical product that goes along with that digital asset. So one example that I'm hot into, especially for clients, is thinking of it from like the subscription model. Like if you have an actual physical product and let's say you make it into an NFT, so you'll have an actual digital ticket, if you will, like you're the actual owner of this subscription box, let's just call it. Let's say you have hot sauce as an example, and you're a part of a subscription to where you get X amount of these hot sauces per month. You may buy this NFT, which could be this cool graphic of or video of an actual hot sauce. You own it, and now you're an actual owner of that product. Other than just being a buyer of a subscription box, you're just a customer. Now you can actually own that. So whenever you want to stop getting these subscriptions, instead of just canceling your membership or whatnot, you could actually sell it to somebody else. So it's more peer to peer. So you actually feel like you kind of own the product a little bit more than just being a consumer. So I think that's a cool way to think about how NFTs that actually have value and utility are of value, and things that are just like a basic rock graphic, the majority of those NFTs have gone to zero already. And it's more of the big brands like Dolce and Gabbana, Tiffany's, Gucci, to where now they're combining the actual product with the actual NFT, which could be a graphic. So they're showing the use case and the value of these NFTs and how they can be used in the future. So another cool one is tickets. So for instance, Patrick, he's, a big Vikings fan, and he has, I don't know if it's an actual like season ticket, but you can actually, if it's turned into an NFT, instead of either just canceling or not renewing, you can actually resell it, is the kind of the idea. So you're actually more of an owner of that, other than just being, a regular consumer. So
Yeah.
I like that whole idea of moving
I'm
forward.
hoping that as someone who fought the Great War of getting Taylor Swift tickets for her most recent tour, that I was literally, I could go on for hours about that. But I'm hoping that the blockchain and NFTs will be able to totally eviscerate Ticketmaster, because you're
Yep.
going to get rid of that marketplace that's causing all the problems,
Yep.
and be able to buy directly from, the musician,
Yep.
and you lose all those like totally junk fees,
Yep.
and you don't have to worry about bots because there is, the because the technology is in the blockchain that you can tell it's a real person.
Well, another benefit to that, it's decentralizing things, just like you're saying. It's taking out Ticketmaster. And for instance, how that scenario would work is Taylor Swift herself would own all of these tickets, and the actual customer or viewer or whoever would actually buy it directly from her as like an NFT. But the cool part about it is if that person wants to resell it to someone else, she still can make like a certain percentage off of it. So there's this cool dynamic to where you can set up, these conferences or these different for music as an example. And yeah, just get all of the middlemen out of it, and and have that relationship directly with that musician or artist, and then also being able to hold on to that asset or resell it is going to be way easier, because like you're saying, you're not going to have to go to Ticketmaster, or it can also be instantaneous because you're going to be using a cryptocurrency. You're going to use the blockchain, so it can you're not going to have to send an actual physical ticket. It'll all be digital. So there's a lot of cool things that I think can happen, and she would definitely be the one to
Like,
push it, especially all the
I
issues they were having with their website and then basically crashing Ticketmaster.
I can't. This is I'm triggered. I'm very triggered by this. But I definitely foresee the next tour that she goes on using NFTs, because also like like you said, it creates a relationship with the artist,
Yep.
and there's the ability to create something that you can keep afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, like my dad, when they would go to concerts, like he still has the paper tickets from like when he saw the Rolling Stones in 1971. And now
Mm-hmm.
with Ticketmaster you can't. Like it's all digital, but it's not something that you can keep. Like if you can have some sort of digital memento, if you will, from these tours, like people are going, and she's selling that as merch.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to want to collect that, and it's kind of a badge of honor for being able to get that.
There's the one thing I love about the situation of ticketing right now, and I've used it multiple times in the past few years, is, I used to be the type of guy, I can remember I got interviewed on local news in 1996 because I had drove over and was like the second person in line standing outside the arena to buy Smashing Pumpkins tickets when they went on sale. I'd driven an hour at like 2 a.m. to be the first person in line. I wasn't the first person, so I was mad at myself. But now, the past few years, concerts I've gone to, I'm kind of like, I don't go to that many concerts anymore. So if I'm going to go and I'm going to buy a ticket to see Bob Dylan, I'm going to sit in the front row.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to wait till like the day of, and like all these bots had bought all these like amazing tickets that people aren't spending $1,000 on. And next thing you know, you're going to see Bob Dylan in the front row for $60. And so if you're patient enough and you wait, and you're just like, I saw like Wilco was playing here in Des Moines this past year, and I love Wilco. I've seen him 12 times in all different sizes of places over the years. And I waited till the day of, and it's like front row ticket, $60. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to see Wilco tonight, so I do like that aspect of it. But as a consumer, for instance, as a Viking season ticket holder, I have to pay for like a seat license. And if I want to sell the tickets, Ticketmaster, who runs like the NFL ticket exchange, like takes a cut from me selling it, takes a cut from the person who's trying to buy it. And so like next thing you know, that my ticket that I already paid Ticketmaster whatever amount of money for, if I want to resell that, they're like making 15% off of me and 15% off the person. So they're making tons of money on every single person who's trying to resell those tickets.
Yeah, it's
And
not
they're
gonna
not
last.
providing a value.
Right.
So we've been the Farmboy marketing crew, and you've been listening to the first episode of You're on Mute, which we've all been on mute at some point over the past few years on these Zoom calls. And we're going to be continuing to talk about cool things in marketing, cool clients that we're working with, and anything else that you want to hear us talk about. Thanks from the Farmboy marketing crew.